What's up, everybody? How are you doing? Game week 30 coming at us hot and fast. We're giving you a last minute preview on what our choices and decisions are on the only 4 fixtures that are going to be happening this week. First off, I want to say make sure that you like and subscribe to the video, comment, interact with us on Twitter. Before we get into our Game Week 30 preview, Doc, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you, Joe. I hope everybody just listens to Joe and subscribe because we've been kind of stagnant on the subscribers. We're gonna bring this because we're not doing it for any subscribers or likes or anything. We're just doing it for fun. We're just a couple of friends chatting FPL, and we thought putting it online. It will be nice to see the numbers kind of go up with time. So if you press that subscribe button and the like button, we really appreciate it. And let's get into this.
All right, so getting into it, we have our 4 fixtures. Let's start with Wolves versus Leeds. What do you think about the fixtures? Who are you looking at that if you're on a free hit, say, you could possibly bring in? Or if you wanted to make 1, maybe 2 transfers to set you up for future game weeks and give you a game week this week? What's it look like, Doc?
Well, Rafinha is always the standout option
No.
when it comes to Leeds, but there are rumors. I don't know how concrete they are, but there are strong rumors. I know Joe's opinion about Rafinha. He's not a big fan because the guy can miss open goals, and then he just scores a screamer all of a sudden when you don't have him in your team. So I totally understand that. He was my captain 2 weeks ago, and he got me 3 points. So in a double game week. So Rafinha is the only option, but there are rumors that he might be down with illness and he might miss out. So I would keep an eye on that up to the deadline. Maybe we get some leaks or anything. There might be only rumors. So I'd keep an eye on that. We have a couple of other options in Leeds if you really want to punt on someone, but I wouldn't really go heavy on Leeds, especially the fixtures will turn for them soon. So Wolves options are quite good. I really am looking at Podence as an option because he seems like nailed on to play this game week only. So I would only bring him if I'm kind of wildcarding, free hitting, so a way out because there's a lot of competition now in those positions when it comes to Wolves and a lot of rotation. What about you, Joe? What do you think about this?
Yeah, as far as Leeds, I would just completely ignore all of them. That is my preference. I would be looking in this game fixture at Wolves. You have Jimenez, you have Sa, you have the whole defensive back line has been up and down recently, but typically they're rock solid back line. So I would be sitting right in there and just looking at those players. That's kind of where I sit with Wolves.
Yeah, but a couple of people are looking at Gelhardt, and because he's 4.6, and there is a good chance he plays because of the injuries and the possibilities around him, and the new manager seems to a bit like him. However, he has kind of a back injury, so you don't even know if he's going to start. So there is news around him as well.
Hmm.
This is as far as Leeds assets go. Maybe James, if you really fancy a punt, but yeah, I wouldn't really target Leeds except for Rafinha if he's fine. Wolves, like you mentioned, they're defensively solid. Not for the past 6 game weeks. The last 6 game weeks, they've been terrible. So I wouldn't kind of double up, especially the way that Marsh has been playing. The Leeds manager, he's very pressing and attacking the other team. So I don't expect even Wolves to keep a clean sheet at this point. So I wouldn't kind of double, triple up on Wolves. Yes, one asset is almost a must at this point because of the lack of fixtures and the lack of possible players to have, but I wouldn't change my whole structure and change my team just to double up or triple up on Wolves defense. Like I said, I'm looking at punting for Podence, but I don't see anything other really good options. Jimenez, most people have. I don't have him because I turned him into Kane. I might go back to him and swallow my pride. Don't know how it works, but it's Jimenez, Saiz, and Podence basically.
Going into the next fixture, we have Villa and Arsenal. Who are we looking at there, Doc?
Well, Coutinho has been in form to a certain extent. So we have Matty Cash. I'm still looking for a statue to put it in front of my house for Matty Cash. He's been scoring points at the differential for fun for me. So Matty Cash is definitely an option, but they're playing Arsenal. I expect Arsenal to score. So Martinelli can be a good option. I think he's going to be a great differential. Saka, most most people, if not everybody in the top 10K, will be probably having him this game week. So Ramsdale, most people will have as well. So you have this matchup. When it comes to those game weeks, I usually tend not to go heavy on it. I don't. Sometimes I totally ignore it because it's 4 fixtures, right? And if you have an attacker from Arsenal and a defender from Aston Villa, if the attacker scores, you lose points from the defender, and vice versa. If the defender gets a clean sheet, the attacker basically doesn't return for you. So it's kind of counterproductive to go heavy on this game week. So unless you have 2 free hits and when you want to use one, yes. But if you have 6 players, 7 players, 8 players, there is a good. If you have 8 players, I would probably roll 8 starting players. I would probably roll the transfer, no matter kind of what's the chip strategy. Maybe if you're wildcarding next game week, yeah, then I would take a couple of punts. However, I don't see really going heavy on players is a smart idea at this point.
Yeah, I'm sitting right now with Lacazette, Tierney, and Ramsdale in my team, and it's very controversial because I don't have Saka, and I know that makes me a bad player in FPL if you look at Twitter right now. But Saka is one of those guys that I want to just ignore, but I know that he's a good player, and there were other options that I felt, okay, I should bring him in. But now I'm sitting with Tierney, who hasn't really given me the returns that I was expecting to see from the attacking end of things because he was on fire when he came back into the team. But in order to move from Tierney to Saka, I have to take out a defender, put in a defender, one transfer, take out a midfield, put in a midfielder, a second transfer. And right now I'm liking how my midfield looks, so there's nobody that I'm sitting there just ready to just rip out of my team. Because I got rid of Rafinha probably 3 game weeks ago, so the team looks pretty good right now.
I'm sure. And you don't have Harry Kane, the other guy that you dislike, but he's probably the best captaincy option. If we can jump to the Spurs West Ham matchup instead of before going to Leicester and Brentford, this
Yeah.
is a nice segue. I think Harry Kane is the best captaincy option for this game week, and he's a long-term hold. So even I would get him even for a hit because he is the best captaincy option for this game week. West Ham played 120 minutes literally yesterday in the Europa League, so there's another reason to captain Harry Kane, and he has a double coming up, no blank this game week. So I think if you can shuffle your team a bit and put your funds into Harry Kane, I think he's the best captaincy option.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this 2 weeks ago when I was actually looking at bringing in Harry Kane. And my issue with Harry Kane was at the beginning of the season, he couldn't hit anything on net. And everybody was like, I'm bringing him in. He's going to do it this week. And I'm like, he hasn't even had a shot on goal in 6 game weeks. And you're thinking he's going to score a hat trick this week? That was my only issue with Harry Kane. Everybody was so high on him. And I'm like, nope, he's not performing. It's not going to happen.
Well, at that point, you were 100% correct, but now he's in form. So
Yeah. And a couple game weeks ago, I had said that I had wanted to bring in Harry Kane, but it was going to force me to rip my whole team apart in order to get the funds that I needed for him. And I think if you're looking at something like that, maybe don't look at Harry Kane because it's going to cost you more points in transfers than he's going to be able to make up. So I would say if you are on a free hit, bring in Harry Kane. If you have a smooth transition to Harry Kane, it's a great idea to shift your funds right over and bring him in. I'm on board with it. He's a great captain option. Even I think for the next couple game weeks, he's up there too. And I'm actually a fan of Kulu also, Kulusevski. He's been doing great. Brought him in. He goes and he gets me points last game week. So I think he's on form and he's doing a fantastic job. He's fitting right into that Spurs lineup. If you have Son, I think it's kind of up in the air. You can take him out if you want. I don't think you should because we know how Son plays. He's going to have a breakout game. He'll get a brace and then 5 assists all of a sudden, and everybody's like, oh, why did we take him out? So I think it's still good to keep him in the team. And if you want a Spurs defender, I think in the long term it's not a bad idea. But in this game week with West Ham usually has somebody that's going to get goals for him each game week. I don't think you should rely on a clean sheet from Spurs, for sure.
I would actually disagree with that. Without Bowen, and I think Cresswell is not doing very well as well. Antonio is not in his best form. So yes, the way Moyes plays kind of brings players, even Ben Rahma or Vlasic, or those players can score at any point. But West Ham are not in form kind of when it comes to scoring goals. Without Bowen, they're kind of missing this attacking prowess, this spark. And Conte is famous for possibly closing shop and not conceding. They didn't concede versus was it Arsenal? So yeah, I see a clean sheet there. It's a quite a possibility. I'm not saying it's a highly likely possibility, but it's quite a possibility. I see a clean sheet there. So
Yeah.
Doherty is the best option to have, I think, in my opinion. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think with Conte, he's going to kind of put 15 guys in front of the goal and tell the referee to look the other way for the extra guys on the field. My only counter argument to that is it is Spurs. They love playing to the level of competition that they have, and we've seen that. They gave Man City one of the best games that we've seen all season, and then what was the game after that they went and just got tossed on? I forget the next game after Man City. I think they ended up losing.
It was like five something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I
they
remember
came
that.
out and they beat Everton, but Everton is, I mean, Everton's
It's
kind of like a
Everton.
punching bag, like right now.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
Newcastle lost to them, whatever, I get it. But still, all
Yeah.
the bigger teams are beating up on Everton right now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, they might not lose the game, but I can definitely see them conceding a goal.
I earlier misspoke. I just checked, and Spurs played Brighton actually when they kept a clean sheet. Brighton are not famous for their goal scoring habits, but still, there is a very slight possibility, although it's kind of a derby, but there is this very slight possibility for a clean sheet. I can see it happening.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
non-zero amount. How about that?
Yes.
So now jumping into two very confusing teams, especially this season, to wrap it up, Leicester and Brentford.
I was
What?
actually going to use this exact word to describe Leicester. Confusing, because I'm looking at Leicester, right? I'm looking to bring
Mhm.
one of their assets because they have a nice run of fixtures and all those things, right? So I have Dean in my team. So I was thinking to replace him with a defender. All their defense is a bit weird, in a weird situation, because you have Amarte, who was a great option, but he can lose his position. Sioncho, and he got injured. uh, Thomas, he might find competition from Justin or Bertrand, although Bertrand is injured. So it's kind of a messy situation with Leicester. Also, then you go to the midfield. You have rotation with Madison, Barnes, Tielemans, Lookman. So you don't really know who to bring. And then I was thinking, oh, probably Daka for my boy Dennis. And Daka goes on and he gets injured. So it's a very weird situation with Leicester to predict, especially if you're planning a long-term transfer, because it is a long-term to a certain extent, although I have my chips and I'm going to use them to rotate players. But it's a weird situation that you don't know who to bring for long-term. Yes, we might predict this game week's lineup, but in 2 game weeks, this player doesn't play because he's either injured or rotated. It's kind of a confusing team.
Yeah, it's really crazy because you have so many injuries that have kind of hit Leicester throughout the whole year. And Madison can't stay fit. Vardy plays a game and then goes into retirement and then comes back out of retirement. And then, yeah, it all the assets that you really want just aren't there or aren't clicking. And aren't clicking looking at like the defense. 2 years ago, even last year, their defense wasn't bad. Like, you wouldn't be crazy if you brought in somebody from Leicester's defense, and now this week you're like, yeah, I'm thinking about bringing in a Leicester, or this season you're like, I'm thinking about bringing in a Leicester defender, and it's like, are you doing okay? Like, what's your rank? Like 8 million or something? It's it's just such a wild turn of events, but it is, interesting to see how going from one season to the next, nothing's necessarily guaranteed except for Liverpool and City are going to be at the top.
Yeah, I totally agree. And to add to this confusion, I don't know if you remember this. Leicester is one of the worst defensive teams this season. They were the team to target for the opponent's attacking asset. And then they go on and keep a clean sheet versus Liverpool. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I think it was with the interview with your godfather when I mentioned yeah, I actually remember it clearly when I mentioned it's impossible that Salah doesn't get anything below like a goal and an assist, and they keep a clean sheet versus Liverpool in a
Yeah.
magical way. So it is really a confusing team, yes.
Is there anybody from Brentford, given we've talked about how bad Leicester's defense can be on any given week, that you're looking at? I know people are running to the transfer window to try and grab Tony. Good option to you? Bad option to you? Different options people should maybe consider from Brentford?
Um, it's it, I saw someone mentioning that Brentford are kind of on the beach already, although they're not in a great position. But they have Leicester away, Chelsea away for the next two. They don't have a fixture to rearrange. So again, if you're wildcarding next week, I might bring Tony. If I was wildcarding next week, I might bring Tony for a week because of just how the fixtures have fallen. But I wouldn't target Brentford players. Maybe not until game week 36 when they have Southampton at home, Everton away, and Leeds at home. And if they have something to play for, I might target a couple of assets. But yeah, Tony might score this game week, but it's not a long term transfer. If you know what I mean, it's like you're really bringing him only for this game week.
Completely agree with that. I had Tony at the beginning of the year, and it was okay. It was better than Barnes at the beginning of the year, but it was one of those things where he was more fun to watch than to own. So
Yeah, yeah,
now here we are without Tony in our team.
yeah. And I don't blame us. He's been, and most of championship strikers kind of go through those spells of they score in 2-3 games in a row. Everybody bring them in. They blank for the next 10. When everybody got rid, they score another two. So a lot of championship sides, like Mitrovic, is setting the championship alight. Um, he couldn't score a goal to save his life last season, and this shows you the difference between the Premier League and the Championship. There is a huge difference, and there's a huge inequality in defense in tactics. There's this huge gap between, let's say, the top six and the Championship, let's say, or even the top 12 and the Championship, because Mitrovic is scoring for fun in the Championship, and then he comes to the Premier League, he scores like four the whole season. So yeah, it's another thing to talk about. It's another video to talk about the quality of football in different leagues. But yeah, just I went on a tangent.
No, I completely agree, because there is definitely a difference in quality in tactics. I mean, you see teams that tear up the championship that are just all out attacking teams. Thinking of like Bournemouth, Norwich was like that. I think Leeds made it into the league just being like a ridiculously attacking team. Like, forget about defense. We're just going to score 40 goals a game and that'll be good enough. And then they get up here and it's like, yeah, this is a big boys league now. You can't just shoot and be given a goal.
It's absolutely different, and it makes me wonder. Sometimes you think about it, and it makes me wonder, like if let's say Harry Kane, Aguero, those players go to the championship for a season, would they score 60, 70 goals? It's a very interesting topic to do.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening and watching to the end of this video. Once again, like, subscribe. Don't forget about it. Contact us on Twitter. Interact. Let's get some conversation going. Let's grow the FPL community. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, or you have anything that you want us to touch on in a video, feel free to reach out. We'll look into it and we'll give you your answers. Doc, anything you'd like to say before we sign off here?
Well, thank you everybody for watching. Wish you all the luck in the coming game week and the coming game weeks. Press the subscribe button for future game weeks videos and see you on the next video.
See you, everybody. Peace.